You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's January the 29th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at the Legacy420.com news desk and live at paceradio.net, cbgtv.com. Good morning, Rev Kelly. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm here. I might look like I'm not here, but I'm really here. Good morning. Happy Monday to you, Al. How are you today?
Not too bad. I'm looking outside for our weather report segment of the show. I'm looking outside and I'm seeing overcast skies.
Yeah, it's overcast, but it's unseasonably mild for this time of year.
I know, eh?
Yeah.
I know, like we're getting
Porcupine's going to come out soon, I think.
He's been coming out the whole winter. Every day I go out there's footprints.
That's wonderful. Not so wonderful, but wonderful to hear about.
Yeah, Porcupine Express. That's what I call his trails around the woods nearby. But yeah, he's still living there. And we'll just see what happens come the thaw. We haven't got as much snow as we had last year.
Yeah.
But, who knows? The water will be running through the culvert, hopefully, and our porcupine will have to find a new home.
It's 6 weeks till spring this week. Groundhog Days this week. So time for the porcupine to find another place anyway.
Yeah, I think so. I completely agree. Yeah. All right. Shall we get started at the news?
Sure.
All right. First up, we got a story from MJ Biz Daily. Headline says, how many cannabis stores in Canada closed in 23? Data paints a rough picture.
It's a record number of cannabis stores in Canada. They might have closed or changed hands in 2023, and that's according to new data from regulators in the three largest Canadian cannabis markets.
The data paints a picture of a viciously competitive retail landscape in some parts of the country, while other parts appear to remain in a steady build-out phase.
MJ Biz Daily asked regulators for data about cannabis retail license cancellations and new licenses issued in Alberta, British Columbia, and Ontario, which together account for nearly 75% of regulated cannabis sales in Canada.
The number of cannabis retail licenses that were canceled or not renewed in Alberta during 2023 exceeded the number of new stores licenses issued. The first time this has happened in the province since 2018, since cannabis was legalized here in the country.
In 2023, 62 cannabis store licenses were canceled or not renewed in Alberta. Meanwhile, 48 new cannabis store licenses were issued.
The previous year, Alberta regulators issued 140 new store licenses, compared with 73 licenses that were canceled or not renewed by license holders. The data paints a rough picture of store closures.
Provincial regulator Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis cautions against drawing a direct line between a store canceling a license and the store exiting the industry, citing several other possibilities, including relocation.
True. Alberta currently has 749 cannabis providers, and the province is thought to be Canada's most mature cannabis retail market. Matt Maurer, chair of the cannabis law group at Torkin Mains in Toronto, said it makes sense to see the number of new stores fall in a market such as Alberta, which already is well established.
And then in a phone interview, Maurer said he's curious to see when the Alberta market will settle into a natural balance between supply and demand for open stores.
He says, as long as the cancellation numbers stay high, to me that says there's still an imbalance. At some point, you should see minimal cancellations, a few a year, and that would be for reasons specific to the stores, not the industry in general.
Right. So jump forward to Ontario, the largest cannabis market, of course. Their applications have declined in 2021. Just over 1,000 retail store applications were issued, reflecting high entrepreneurial enthusiasm for the burgeoning industry, according to data shared. And that's not seeming the same anymore. Everything's
Oh,
dropping.
yeah, they say the following year, the number of RSAs in Ontario dropped by more than 50%
Mhm.
to 429 before falling again in 2023 to 269.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, they have the cancellation numbers have risen quickly. 2021, 8 RSAs were canceled. The figure grew to 106 and then fell to
Oh,
92 in 2023. So
yeah.
2022, 106, and then 2023.
Krista Raymer, founder of the Toronto-based cannabis retail consultant Vetrina Group, noted the new municipalities in the province opened the doors to legal cannabis stores in 2023 after previously having opted out. Yeah, I know one of those.
Yep. Yep. Now some of them are opting in. She said another factor driving new store openings in Ontario challenging business environment is entrepreneurs finding opportunities outside the Toronto area's heavily saturated market.
Yeah, down now in British Columbia, the number of new cannabis licenses approved also has been declining. The province issued 47 new store licenses last year, lower than the 2022 figure and roughly 50% less than the 98 permits issued in 2021, according to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch.
Wow, the province has 493 stores in operation as of this past Friday. 493 stores, so just under 500. How many do we have in Ontario, Al? Like 1,700?
1,700. Yeah. Yeah.
And British Columbia, at one point in time, that was BC Bud. That was the capital of Canada for cannabis, right?
That's right. It was at
Mm,
one time. That's right.
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, the story goes on there a bit more,
Yeah.
but in the end, Rev Kelly, this is going to happen because they can't keep adding these stores. Eventually, they got to stop adding stores,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
There's only so many people.
correct.
Right? Yeah.
So
Per capita.
there is going to be a decline in the stores, and obviously, as the one fellow says, they will eventually balance out as people settle in. You may find that the spot's not good, so either they'll close and move, or they just close down completely.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right, on to the next story. This one comes to us from StratCan. The headline says Israel opens anti-dumping investigation into cannabis imports from Canada.
Oh my goodness. It's the
Mm,
Ministry of Economy, and they sent a notice to cannabis producers in Canada that it is initiating an anti dumping investigation concerning the importation of medical cannabis from Canada to Israel.
A notice on the Israeli government's website dated January the 18th is addressed to 10 different Canadian cannabis producers: Village Farms International, Organigram Holdings, Tilray, Hexo, the Green Organic Dutchman, Canopy Growth Corporation, SNDL, Chronos Group, Auxiliary Cannabis Group, Decibel Cannabis, and all the medical cannabis manufacturers in Canada who export their goods to Israel.
What the heck? The
Mm.
Commissioner for Trade Levies at the Ministry of Economy and Industry announced by virtue of his authority according to Section 24 of the Law of Trade Levies and Defense Measures of his decision to open an investigation on his own initiative into the import of cannabis from Canada after he found that special circumstances of actual damage exist or the probability of actual damage to the local manufacturing industry and a casual link between imported goods and said damage. That reads the document has been translated. I don't understand. What the heck is going on?
It sounds like they've had some cannabis dumped there. Now, dumped as far as, was it bad cannabis? Was there something wrong with it? Maybe we'll find out as we read on here. It also contains a questionnaire for importers and exporters, which includes questions about financial statements of the company over the last 3 years, descriptions of the company's ownership structure, as well as questions about the products and the prices, THC and CBD levels, shipping terms, payments, and much more. I can just see those ownerships are always changing over.
Sure.
Could be a
The
problem.
document notes that The action is being taken due to special circumstances and concerns over Canadian companies flooding the Israeli market with cannabis products.
The notice also includes a letter sent to Michael Mancini, the chief commercial counselor with the Embassy of Canada, informing them of the investigation. That was back on the 15th of January.
So it talks about Canadian cannabis companies. They've been increasingly sending cannabis products to markets like Israel, Australia, and Germany, followed by Argentina, the UK, and the US. So they're sending medical cannabis there. And what's
Right.
happening to it?
Yeah. Data presented last year by Health Canada indicated that cannabis exports may continue to decrease significantly, with more than 1,000 applications already submitted as of September the 12th. Canada's exported 140,958 kilograms of dried cannabis and 37,230 liters of cannabis oil since October of 2020, with almost half of that dried cannabis exported in the last 12 months.
Okay, so I think maybe what they're saying is that they've just sent too much and that
Too
it's
much,
having to be
yeah.
dumped now. That's why they're doing this anti-dumping campaign,
And
because it's too much. They're sending too
yeah,
much.
it mentions in that translated piece about how
Yeah.
it damaged the Israeli market itself,
Jeez.
like their own producers. So maybe that's
What
what it's
the
got.
heck? Yeah. So I guess that's what take your weed back, Canada. The federal regulator has received 1,211 applications from Canadian companies seeking to export cannabis since the beginning of the fiscal year, April 1st, 2023. They've approved 1,147 in a presentation made online on Tuesday, October 24th. A representative with Health Canada said they expect these numbers to continue to increase.
Yeah, yeah. You see, those must be a bunch of different packages of
Yeah.
pre-rolled joints and stuff in there. And
Yeah.
they say that Israel has more than 132,000 patients registered to receive cannabis for medical purposes. It began allowing imports for cannabis in 2019. I reported in Jerusalem. I'll get it out. The Post in January referred to the decision to allow medical cannabis to be imported into Israel as one that has pushed local growers and producers to desperation. So there you go. The country's
So they're
demanding.
gonna dump it. They have to dump all of the medicine that's been shipped over there, and I think that that's quite the problem then. What are they gonna do with all of this excess?
Yeah, it's affected their own industry over
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, dumped it. Did they dump it in such a way that it was just so cheap, price wise, all
Let's
that,
hope that's what they meant. Or dump
because
it by
these.
giving it away to people that need it. Let's hope that's what they meant.
Yeah, I'm also
Can
looking
only
at
be
it
so hope.
as it wouldn't go there if it wasn't ordered by a company.
Right. Yeah. And then maybe it just
So,
wasn't sold or used or
yeah.
interesting.
All right, on to our next story. This one comes to us from Marijuana Moment. The headline on it says Maryland bill would create psychedelics task force to recommend online sales and delivery systems for psilocybin, DMT, and mescaline.
Oh, that's very exciting. Yeah, Maryland lawmakers, they're considering this new proposal. It's going to create a task force and a study, and they want to make specific recommendations about the best path forward to legalize and regulate certain psychedelics.
The bill from Delegate Guy Gazone and 5 co-sponsors will establish a task force on responsible use of natural psychedelic substances under the State Department of Health.
While several states have advanced similar legislation on exploring psychedelics legalization, the Maryland legislation stands out in its level of detail for what members will be required to study and make policy recommendations on, including systems to support statewide online sales of natural psychedelic substances with home delivery, for example.
Oh. Task force would need to consist of 4 members of the legislature appointed by leadership, secretaries or designees of 5 state agencies, a representative of the Maryland Cannabis Administration, and 15 governor-appointed positions, including people with backgrounds in public health, drug policy reform advocacy, and law enforcement.
They would need to study existing laws related to psychedelics, opportunities to maximize public benefits of responsible access to and use of natural psychedelic substances, risks and methods of mitigating risk, barriers to access within the healthcare system, and more.
By December the 15th, 2025, the panel would need to submit a report to the governor and legislator with findings and recommendations. Those recommendations would need to look at creating a natural psychedelic permit for regulated access to psilocybin, DMT, and mescaline that is not derived from natural peyote. So they want synthetic.
Recommendations for psychedelics regulation should also relate to growing natural psychedelic substances in accordance with agricultural safety standards and testing and packaging requirements for products containing natural psychedelic substances with clear and accurate labeling for potency.
One of the more unique features of the proposed law is the requirement for the task force to make recommendations for the sale and taxation of natural psychedelic substances. So is that
To that
legal?
end, you're
Not
right.
just medical?
Members would need to consider restricting the sales of natural psychedelic substances of natural psychedelic permit holders, systems for the sale and reasonable taxation of natural psychedelic substances to cover the cost of Maryland Natural Psychedelic Substance Access Program, systems to support statewide online sales of natural psychedelic substances with home delivery, and options for retail stores that sell natural psychedelic substances in communities in the state and opt to participate in online sale and home delivery of those substances.
Like, yeah, this has got everything in it but growing.
Right. Why not?
Phone up. Hey, I'd like some mushrooms delivered.
That's right.
Further, the panel would need to investigate criminal justice reforms related to psychedelics, such as decriminalizing nonviolent activities involving entheogenic substances, expunging prior psychedelics-related criminal records, and releasing people currently incarcerated over psychedelics.
If enacted, the bill would take effect July 1st, 2024, and sunset on June 30th, 2026, maybe meaning that it would just be a trial period.
Yeah, I know. I'm sort of wondering about that too, because why would it
That mean?
sunset?
Why was it sunsetting in 2026?
Yeah, exactly. Maryland lawmakers have already shown a willingness to embrace psychedelics policy reform, with the legislature passing a bill in 2022 to create a state fund to provide cost-free access to substances like psilocybin, MDA, and ketamine for military veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. The former Republican governor allowed the legislature to be enacted into law without his signature.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, free access to vets to psychedelics.
I love it.
Okay, you gotta like that.
Nice to see.
Yeah, and setting up, it's almost sounding like we're setting up a regulated market when you go through all that.
I think they should do it.
Yeah, sure. All right, here we go. Our next story. This one comes to us from Forbes. Headline there says that 1/3 of U.S. cannabis users would turn to the illicit market if feds limited access to pharmacy-only sales, according to a poll.
Wow.
Yes.
If cannabis were rescheduled, this is in the US, of course, without maintaining state legal marketplaces, about 1/3 of users across their country would return to purchasing from the illicit market. That's according to a new poll.
I can see that. NugMD.com, a platform medical cannabis doctor evaluation, surveyed nearly 800 users and revealed that 32% of them would opt for the illicit market if cannabis were rescheduled and made exclusively available through prescription drugs from the Food and Drug Administration.
In the scenario where the only legal avenue for obtaining cannabis involved purchasing at a pharmacy with prescription, 32% stated they would resort to the illicit market. 55% expressed a preference for obtaining it through pharmacies.
Really, that high, eh?
Yep.
The survey comes amid the recent recommendation by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services for the Drug Enforcement Agency to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act.
However, such reclassification wouldn't automatically categorize cannabis as a legal prescription drug. This is because FDA's drug approval process follows a separate process for drug approval and is typically does not approve botanical substances as prescription medications.
Well, even here in Canada, it's really just they say it's not even a prescription; it's just like a note.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, the poll reveals how marijuana consumers would respond to a situation where as access is limited exclusively to pharmacies, treating cannabis similar to other Schedule III substances. These substances typically require prescription and must be acquired at pharmacies or used under a doctor's supervision.
Mm. Now, the poll also sheds lights on the perceptions of users regarding potential rescheduling of cannabis. 47% of participants indicated that rescheduling wouldn't impact their access to cannabis. A significant majority of 77% expressed a preference for obtaining cannabis from dispensaries. I think that might just be because they want it to be safer. What do you think, Al? They want it to be qualified or checked?
Well, yeah, I would think it probably gives people an idea of feeling that it is qualified as medicine because of it coming out of a
Mm,
pharmacy where other
right,
medications
right.
are being sold at.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Instead of a
They
bag
say,
from a guy down an alley.
yeah, that's right, exactly.
Sure.
While 69% of respondents express a preference for each state maintaining its separate state market rather than a unified national market, a substantial 85% favor the scheduling of cannabis from a Controlled Substances Act compared to rescheduling it to Schedule 3. So they want it gone.
Just gone.
Gone.
85% done.
Yeah,
Of course.
done.
Given that 1/3 of cannabis users would turn to the illicit market if access to cannabis is restricted to pharmacies only, the head of legal policy research emphasized the potential negative outcome of pushing over 10 million individuals, calculated based on the assumption that 35 million Americans use cannabis monthly, into the unregulated market, highlighting concerns about its safety.
I don't think the severity of the situation is entirely clear to policymakers. Well, the only thing I got to say to that, where are the bodies for the
Where
last
the
100 years?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
where's the dead bodies
Where's the dead bodies?
from the
Yeah.
illicit cannabis? Yeah. The survey also highlights that consumers express resistance to the FDA or pharmaceutical companies playing a role in the regulation of cannabis. Instead, they prefer state-controlled markets, indicating a moderate to high level of trust in state regulations. Additionally, a noteworthy portion of these consumers is willing to obtain cannabis, even if it means ignoring legal restrictions.
Jeez. They conclude that the poll's message for policymakers is twofold. First, maintain the existing state cannabis markets, and second, to create a system that enables regulated retailers to sell products that consumers want without being overly burdened by the compliance requirements of the FDA. This suggests a call for a balanced regulatory approach that considers both state-level dynamics and the needs of cannabis users.
Policymakers have used cannabis for more than a century to weaponize the law against people. They clearly know how to hold this industry down, so they must know how to prop it up. Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah. So they say that moving cannabis to Schedule 3 of the CSA might improve medical access and promote the development of FDA-approved drugs. The transition is a time-consuming process, and state regulated dispensaries will likely remain available for both medical and recreational users, as it could take years for the FDA-approved products to reach pharmacies. Years, Al. More years,
Year.
right?
Yeah,
People that are dying
yeah.
have all that time, right?
Yeah, exactly. They say here, however, some experts caution that it is unlikely for certain products, like the raw cannabis flower, to get approved. They emphasize the need for other medical grade forms that could be sold in pharmacies. So, yeah, they don't want to be selling buds in pharmacies.
No.
So, yeah,
Well,
there's not, yeah, well, there we go. It's at the end. Even if
yeah.
there were changes, the legal markets within the states are expected to continue, ensuring people can still get what they need and reduce the need for the illicit market. So,
Okay.
don't eliminate the access. That's for sure.
Yeah. Need the access. They'll go anywhere to get it. They've proven it.
Yes, exactly. Okay, one more story before we go to break. And this one comes to us from Wellington. The Wellington, I hadn't heard of it before. The Wellington Advertisement. They say here, Hillsburg man suing the province after OPP raid on cannabis facility. Wow.
Yeah, he wants $2 million. It's an OPP raid, and it happened at his North Wellington property in August of 2021.
According to the statement of claim filed with the Guelph Superior Court last October, David Warren and numbered corporations alleged the police trespassed and damaged property, ultimately interfering with his ability to make money, all because of a neglect police investigation.
Now, none of the allegations contained in the claim have been tested in court. He says on October 11th, police searched Side Road 5 West property near the Riverstown landfill in Kenilworth, and it's owned by a numbered corporation listing Warren as the director.
According to the claim, Warren was being investigated for unlawful possession of cannabis for the purpose of distributing, despite having a Health Canada license to grow cannabis.
Plus, his claim states the township had granted a zoning bylaw amendment to permit a commercial medical cannabis production facility on the 15-acre property.
A warrant gave police authority to search for cannabis paraphernalia, cell phones and computers, video systems, money and documents related to the purchase and trafficking of controlled substances, the claim states.
Officers then damaged the building and also damaged and seized personal property, the claim alleges, noting the seized property hasn't been returned.
The investigation into Warren was concluded in January 2023 without charges being laid, according to the statement. The property has remained closed and is not operating, which has caused Warren economic damages in the form of expenses and loss of revenues and profits, the claim states.
If he wasn't charged, there's no charges here. And they went in and they obviously took stuff and disrupted stuff. It also contends that a police acted without care and suggests there weren't grounds to believe an offense was committed. Wow.
Yeah, Warren's legal counsel, James McDonald of Brampton Law for Davis Webb, did not respond to 2 emails requesting comment for this story, nor was the advertiser able to reach McDonald by phone. So they can't get any word from anybody.
Right. The allegations in the claim hinge on a branch of law giving people the chance to be compensated for property damage or personal injury caused by wrongdoing, especially by those with a duty of care to another person.
Claim figures are invariably inaccurate and must be substantiated in court, and civil actions rarely make it to trial. Most are either withdrawn or settled in court.
And there's supposed to be a notice of intent to defend against the claims, but they haven't seen it yet. So
no, that's
wow.
Yeah, like so. What was the grounds of the warrant being created?
Yeah,
this was
sounds
illegal.
like they maybe thought he was doing something illegal, but this whole time he wasn't charged. It was his facility.
Charged.
He has a license.
Has a license. It's a company because it talked about corporations and stuff.
Numbered company, numbered corporation.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that's
strange story.
Weird. It is very
strange.
See
if there's any follow-up later.
Yeah, exactly. All right, it's break time. Time to medicate. Kelly and I'll be right back after our session. You're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Education here on the Pace Radio Network. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Let's share Pace everywhere. That way it can help create peace. people everywhere advocating cannabis education.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Hey, we're back from our medication session, and you're live with Psychedelics and Cannabis Education and News here at paceradio.net. Well, Rev Kelly, we've got 4 more stories to go, so let's get at her. And the first one up from MJ Biz Daily says, Canadian cannabis license approvals at multi-year low amid market turbulence.
They sure are. Yeah, the legal cannabis industry is drawing fewer new entrants than ever as existing businesses continuing to exit.
New federal licenses have dropped to a record low, while the number of revoked or expired licenses doubled over the course of 1 year, according to the latest federal data.
The figures on new, existing, and inactive licenses were updated this past Monday. Health Canada licensed only 4 new sites in September 23, down from 11 in August.
That's significant. That's a significant drop from 2022, when 12 and 22 new sites were licensed in August and September, respectively. Many of Canada's large licensed producers are facing challenging business prospects amid
falling prices due largely to oversupply.
a burdensome federal taxation regime,
Stiff competition from smaller, more specialized and nimble companies.
large government-owned wholesalers earning most of the profit in the industry. Hey, OCS.
Yeah, hello. Those difficult circumstances appear to be steering would-be investors and entrepreneurs away from entering the market, the data suggests, as the number of prospective federal licensees continues to decline.
The total number of applicants in the queue stood at 107 in September 2023, down from 163 approximately 1 year earlier.
The September 2023 figure is 87% lower than December 2018, when almost 840 site applications were in the pipeline. Well, of course, that was when we started.
Correct. Yeah. As September 2023, applications in the queue stood at 39 for standard cultivation license, 61 for micro class licenses, and 3 for nursery licenses.
There's an addition 4 applications for a sale for medical purpose only license. And then the total number of inactive licenses continues to climb, reaching 222 as September of last year.
Licenses may be deemed inactive for a variety of reasons. Of the 222 inactive licenses as September 2023, 187 were revoked since legalization at the request of the holder. 4 were revoked from Health Canada, and 31 had expired.
In September 2022, a year earlier, only 109 federal cannabis licenses had been inactivated. However, the total number of federal licensees in Canada continues to be at or near an all-time high, despite challenging microeconomic and macroeconomic conditions.
They say as of September 30th, there were 947 federal license holders in Canada. In September of 2022 and in September of 2021, there were approximately 906 and 771 licenses, respectively.
And as of September 2023, license stood at 472 standard license, 410 microclass license, 25 nursery license, and 40 licenses for sale for medical purposes only. Those are the ones I like, Al.
Yeah. Most of the excess production in Canada market is thought to be stemming from standard license holders, which have no canopy size limit, whereas the micros do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Lots of big numbers there, but it
Lots
seems
of
like
big numbers. And yet again, like the stores, eventually,
yeah, it's going to pan out.
it's got to pan out. Exactly. All right. This next story that we have coming up here. This is, I'm going to say it'd be like a opinion piece, and it comes to us from Queen's University, just up the road in Kingston. They say here, Canada owns its veterans new mental health tools. And this is written by a Ron Shore. He's a research scientist at Queen's Health Sciences and assistant professor at Queen's University.
Wow. And they're saying that it's the Canadian Senate Subcommittee on Veteran Affairs, and they recently released a striking report entitled "The Time Is Now: Granting Equitable Access to Psychedelic Therapies."
To address high rates of suicide and post-traumatic stress disorder among veterans, the report calls on Veteran Affairs Canada to immediately implement a robust research program funded by Veterans Affairs Canada and the Department of National Defence in partnership with Health Canada, the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, and other relevant partners.
With psychedelic research, Veteran Affairs Canada has a real chance to live up to its mandate to provide exemplary client-centered services and benefits that respond to the needs of veterans, our other clients, and their families.
As a psychedelics researcher with an interest in veteran health, I couldn't be happier, especially with the Senate focus on timeliness, equity, and access.
Not only is my PhD on the therapeutic application of psilocybin, but my father was a veteran of the Canadian Forces, as is my brother and 2 uncles, and both of my grandfathers. I grew up on a Canadian Forces base.
Lieutenant Colonel Jack Shore, my father, that's his father, graduate of the Soldier Apprentice Program and a United Nations peacekeeper in the Congo mission of the early 1960s, passed away as I was working as a guest co-editor of the special edition of the Journal of Military Veteran and Health, Family Health. The theme of the edition is therapeutic use of psychedelic ethogens, inactins, cannabinoids, and dissociative anesthetics for military members and veterans.
Well, my dad rarely talked about this time in the Congo. He experienced what we would now recognize as moral injury and most likely PTSD. These conditions directly shaped our family life and upbringing. That was before Sudan, Rwanda, and the Yugoslav wars and Afghanistan.
Yeah. My childhood on bases occurred in times of relative peace, but Canada has now had a few generations of soldiers experience active combat. The 629,000 veterans living in Canada have rates of depression, anxiety, and substance use disorder that are higher than the civilian population. 1 in 7 is living with PTSD. Veterans are 2 to 3 times more likely to experience homelessness compared to the general population.
To veterans of the Canadian Forces and to their families, we owe a duty of care, and not just to provide services and access to novel treatments. We also have a duty to care enough to do the science well and to tackle the public policy challenges, including regulatory drug reform, necessary to provide Canadian veterans with effective care.
Yes, right. The role of the VAC includes paying for the cost of health care benefits and other services for veterans through the Public Service Health Care Program and supplementary treatment benefits. While the single-payer provider model has advantages, it relies heavily on VAC staff and members to access and approve plans of care.
Developing a psychedelics research program for veterans should be seen as a public health priority. It will most likely require an independent panel of experts and stakeholders, including veterans, to help shape the agenda in a timely manner for the VAC.
The Canadian Institute of Military and Veteran Health Research, founded in 2010, is well positioned as a Canadian hub for military, veteran, and family health research to provide the infrastructure to foster collaboration, ensure stakeholder engagement, and work on the knowledge translation so necessary to rapidly develop the capacity and expertise of Canadian researchers.
We can build on the work of the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, which is currently conducting several psilocybin trials, and the longstanding works of MAPS in advancing MDMA-assisted therapy for PTSD towards regulatory approval. We can also listen to the experts such as Canada Health Research Chair in Mental Health Disparities, Monica Williams, who are calling for greater equity and improved inclusion of BIPOC veterans and researchers.
Psychedelic ketamine appears to have positive but short-lived outcomes in the treatment of mood disorders. Ketamine clinics require evaluation given recent FDA warnings about risk of commercialized mental health telemedicine and take-home doses.
Ultimately, the Canadian public may want to reconsider the policy framework that still severely limits access to these promising compounds for researchers, clinicians, and those in need.
Veterans have taken it upon themselves to support each other and to advocate for change. The Heroic Hearts Project helps veterans access psychedelic therapies and has long championed the potential benefits of plant medicine ceremony.
Heroic Hearts Canada, which aims to provide Canadian veterans with equitable access to safe, effective, and affordable psychedelic therapies, has recently partnered with the University of Calgary for some important observational research.
The time lag from drug discovery to patient care is often decades, prompting the expression "valley of death" to refer to the gap between bench science and bedside care.
Given the real mental health needs of Canadian veterans and the known limits of effectiveness for current standards of care, we must aim for quicker progress towards medical help, as both the United States and Australia have done. However, this progress must not be at the expense of safety and quality, and definitely not simply for commercialization.
Correct. Thought needs to be given to the development, evaluation, and quality assurance of accessible programs for veteran-centered care and with veterans' voices at the table. It is time for more emphasis on psychedelics-related implementation science, the study of methods to promote the uptake and identify barriers of research findings into routine clinical use in order to improve effectiveness of health services.
There is robust and mounting evidence to support regulatory approval for MDMA and psilocybin-assisted therapies. Their availability and uptake by clinicians and the public is only a matter of time.
Correct, yeah. Research funds now are best allocated towards large phase 3 trials that treat wider cross-sections of the veteran community to begin to access the safety and efficacy of interventions such as naturally occurring and culturally significant psychedelic compounds, ibogaine and DMT and ayahuasca, and to investigate in knowledge translation, program evaluation, and training researchers and clinicians.
Apart from new biomedical research, it's time we recognize the widespread personal use of psychedelics, including among veterans, and develop safer use guidelines for psychedelics like those placed on alcohol and cannabis.
Yeah. While the Senate report does not mention cannabis, it is worth noting that veterans in Canada have been approved for treatment with cannabis assisted therapy. This includes the use of cannabis as a psychedelic and mimics the preparation session integration protocols of psychedelic therapies. This intervention is also worth rapid evaluation and possible expansion.
Yes, and the limitations of current tools, need for research on psychedelic therapies, as well for timely and equitable access is urgent. It says it comes from Ron Shore. I interviewed him a
Nice.
few years ago.
Did
He's
you?
fantastic. He has been
Yeah.
doing this for years, Al. He's been fighting this fight for psychedelics for years. That's wonderful that he wrote this.
Yeah, it is. I
This
thought it was great when I saw it, and it was coming right from Queen's University,
wow.
and from somebody who's involved in the program there, like one of the professors. Then, this isn't just some guy off the street just talking about
No,
it. It's
no, he's
somebody with some knowledge and experience at all this.
yep.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here we go. On to the next story. This one comes to us from the entrepreneur. CDC suggests cannabis legalization reduced underage access.
Okay. Teenage cannabis use in Seattle, Washington area has dropped significantly since 2008, according to recent data from the U.S. Center of Disease Control, and the state's 2012 cannabis legalization policy likely played a role.
The report, first outlined by the cannabis advocacy group NORML, noted that the observed decreases in cannabis use among 8th, 10th, and 12th grade students might be associated with changes in the availability of cannabis among persons aged 21 years, as well as limited opportunities to engage in use.
There's a quote here from the CDC analysis excerpt. Researchers studying the association of cannabis laws with cannabis use among high school students have observed similar declines in cannabis use after legalization of non-medical cannabis. The legalization of non-medical cannabis for adults aged 21 years in Washington, with licensed dispensaries requiring proof of age, might have affected availability of cannabis to younger persons, as well as their opportunities to engage in its use. This, in turn, might have an impact on use prevalence.
That's right, yeah. Links between the legalization of adult use cannabis and reductions in youth cannabis have been made in multiple previous studies.
Canadian researchers found in 2020 that teenage cannabis use dropped 50% following the federal legalization of cannabis in Canada.
1 year previously, researchers noted in a study published by JAMA Pediatrics an 8% decline in the number of high schoolers who had used cannabis within the last month. So there you go.
Well, they're just
Make
hiding
it
it.
legal. You make it legal. It's no longer illegal, so it's no longer, does it take that fun thing I'm getting away with something illegal? Whereas,
No, I think the kids need it too. They need access to it and they should be using it for their medicine. So, like, legal or not legal, use it, kids. That's what I say.
all right, on to the next story. This one comes to us from StratCan. And the headline on it says, survey price of legal cannabis almost on par with the black market.
Okay, yes, it is. It's a new report from Deloitte and Canadian cannabis data analytics company Neobi. It compares Canada's legal and illegal cannabis markets, highlighting the advantages and challenges that the legal market faces.
On average, the price of cannabis flower in the legal market was about 10% more expensive than from the illegal market, while the average cost of 3.5 grams on the legal market was $9 and $6 on the black market. The average price of 7 grams was $5.84 and $5.35 respectively, while 28 grams was $4.32 and $4.24.
Wow. Interesting numbers. The study scanned products from 624 legal private recreational cannabis stores and 57 illicit online stores in May and June 2023. Unsurprisingly, the scan found a greater variety of products in the illicit market, with more of a focus on cannabis flower and extracts, as well as a larger package sizes than its legal counterparts.
Oh, yes. This greater variety was highlighted by cannabis edibles, often with more THC and in more recognizable candy formats than legal edibles. Illegal stores were also not held back by the SKU size limits like the 30-gram purchase limit for legal stores, which also likely helps the illicit market outprice the licit one.
Right, right. Although both sides of the market show a majority of flower products sold in 3.5-gram SKUs, there was a more even balance of different sized SKUs at illegal stores than a legal market. Legal stores were far more likely to carry 3.5-gram SKUs.
In the illicit market, 17.3% of flower products were in a greater than 28-gram package sizes, including a small amount as large as 56 grams, 112 grams, 224 grams, and 448 grams. So there's your basically you get your 2 ounces, you got a quarter pound, got half pound, and you got a pound.
Right.
Yeah.
While unregulated, illegal websites had a high number of flower and extract products listed, they were also less likely to carry pre rolls, beverages, and vapes compared to legal recreational stores.
I can see the beverages being a problem for maybe
Yeah,
the illicit market as far as
sure.
being able to create them, but pre-rolls.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. The price difference between the scanned legal and illegal sources of dried cannabis flower was about 20% on average, with the illegal online stores being cheaper than their heavily regulated and taxed counterparts. This price difference was more evident in smaller SKUs, while those at 7 gram and larger were.
The average price a gram of cannabis flower in the illicit market was $6.24 per gram, while it was $7.96 per gram in the legal market. On average, illicit flower product prices were 78.4% of those in the legal market, indicating prices in the legal market are catching up to the illegal market as compared to 55% difference in 2019.
This price difference was most pronounced in smaller SKUs like the 3.5 gram, where the illegal market was 67.8% cheaper than the legal market. The pricing of 28-gram offerings, which was announced, was almost the same, with the average illicit prices 98% of the average legal recreational prices.
Wow, yeah, for a 28-gram SKU, the legal and illegal market prices were $4.32 and $4.24 per gram, respectively.
Yeah, all the sampled illegal cannabis websites allowed e-transfer as the primary payment method, with even accepting Bitcoin. Only a few accepted credit cards. Unsurprisingly, 78% of the illegal sites had no age gate, and many products used common television, film, and other media brands, potentially adding to buy appeal.
Products like psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, and DMT were found at 63% of illegal websites. You can get your cannabis and your DMT online.
Yeah. The report also says there are many instances of these illegal websites containing malware and even possibly identity theft phishing schemes.
Oh, that's scary. All the
Mhm.
websites selling illicit cannabis added tax for all products at checkout, although the report says it's uncertain whether these taxes were remitted to the government. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no.
And uh,
Why are we
some of them,
charging tax?
some of them have been for years. Emery was claiming the money on his seed sales.
Oh,
Filing a
okay.
report with the government
Okay.
and as Ted Smith of the Victoria Buyers Club found out, and as Chris Enns of Farmers Assist in Nova Scotia is finding out, the government wants to tax money for illicit sales.
Yeah, of course they would.
So
The government wants
maybe
money for everything.
maybe they're collecting that money ahead of time, just waiting for
Yeah,
that the government
sure.
comes knocking,
Yep. Keep it in a piggy bank.
That's right. Exactly. All right. Anything you want to say before we get started and closing things out?
We're doing a Cannabis Gives Back fundraiser to help the homeless by collecting sleeping bags, and we're giving doobies away for that. So that's March 2nd, and it's happening at the food shop on Water Street in Peterborough. So I'll send more details. Maybe you can come and check it out if you've got some space to do that out.
Yeah, that's right. Sounds like a good plan. All right, from the Legacy420.com news desk, that's the Pace News Report for January the 29th. Sorry. And we have to say thanks to our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone, cityhydroponics.ca, and Legacy420.com. And in closing, I'd like to say thanks for watching. And don't forget to educate, medicate, do not incarcerate. And when you do, don't hang people like they do in Singapore.
Right.
This is atrocious.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.